Imagine a conscious contact with God so strong that no matter what you are doing or not doing, that no matter what your kids are up to or not up to, and that whether you've got the person of your dreams or they're just not cooperating, that you are happy, content, and at peace. A space where everyone else's thoughts, attitudes, and actions are beautiful and exactly as they are supposed to be. Well, this is the space where I like to play. My name is Misha Z, and this is today's Bitch Slap. Join me as I shed light on the thoughts, actions, and attitudes that are causing you pain, and we train our minds to go to the capital S inner self, the joy that is waiting for us, the God within. Sheryne Wilson, welcome to the Bitch Slap, the Accelerated Path to Peace podcast.
Love it.
And we have, you were on my summit, the Tools for a Good Life Summit. So anybody listening, you can hit pause and go run to toolsforagoodlifesummit.com and check out Sheryne's amazing interview, right? And it was very specific. We were talking about like what steps would you offer somebody to help them get back on track or whatever, and you just were dropping bomb after bomb after bomb. So amazing. You are amazing. I was thinking beforehand, like I'm literally getting the shivers thinking about like the moments of like, yeah. What was the best thing you said? And I think it was one of the best things you said was, and it might have been on the VIP bonus section. But before we get to that, you hold please. I was going to say, people might be wondering, well, what does she do? Who is she? And you are a how am I going to say this? Well, one of the favorite things about you is that you had like how do you say it's like some autoimmune, some physical issues, right? Yeah. And you were able to like go out and learn all this stuff and like literally heal your body and your mind. Yeah,
you know.
Right. Like that's amazing. That's and then you do NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming. So you help people with that tool, with hypnotherapy, neuro linguistic programming, NLP. Maybe speak to that for a minute. Like, give me the like. This is why you want NLP, real quick.
Okay, you want NLP because a lot of our blocks, and most of us know this, our blocks are on an unconscious or a subconscious level. And so many times people, I know something's blocking me. I don't know what it is. I'm stuck. I don't know what it is. And NLP uses language to bypass the conscious mind, which is always the logical mind, always trying to figure out what the problem is. And it goes directly to the unconscious, which is where everything runs. That is the Borg of how we do life, right? And so NLP is using language, in my opinion, to bypass the conscious mind to get to the unconscious, so that we can actually start dealing with the problem, so that we can start taking yourself out of the problem. I love it because one of my sayings is focusing on the problem is part of the problem, and this basically takes you outside the problem, gives you a different perspective, gives you a different viewpoint, so that you can start actually creating solutions in your life. And so, I mean, that's my definition. There's a million definitions. I mean, by standard, NLP is the standard of excellence. And it is really about how to use the mind to get to a place of excellence, and how you're able to associate and dissociate into situations so that you can figure out what you're doing. Another way of saying NLP too is NLP is about internal representation. What, the word happy means to me could mean something totally different to you. So it's about understanding how you view the world and why you view the world that way, and how you can how you can view the world in a different way, and how you, Misha, view something different, and how we can work together to understand behavior and understand how you work and I work. I can rabbit hole down this path for a long time, so I'll just stop there.
Okay.
But yeah, it's dealing with the unconscious and the subconscious mind.
Okay.
Using language.
Cool. I love it. Thank you for that. And we're going to come right back to that. But I was thinking of words to say when I was going to introduce you before, right? As we're coming onto this. And of course I didn't write them down. And so now I'm trying to remember what they were, right? But they were like open, I don't know if raw is the right word, but vulnerable, perhaps. Like there's no, one thing I love about you is that there's that wall that can be there between people, at least between you and I, is like just melts away really quick, right? So we get to be vulnerable and authentic and all those cool, or all those words that we hear thrown about, right? I'd also say I pay for this coaching group that I'm in, and it's kind of pricey. And I have this coach who's amazing. And his name's Vince. Hey, Vince, if you're listening, love you. I know you love Vince. But and I know that you have an opportunity. And Vince has been incredibly powerful in my life. And then Vince oftentimes will get some coaching, or maybe I shouldn't say this on the air, but I know that you and him have a relationship, and you've been powerful in his life. So I'm just trying to let the audience know that you have a powerful, useful message by however, I'm using a couple of degrees of separation to help with that. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I work with people of all walks of life, and Vince has been one of those people that I've had the pleasure of working with, and he's helped me and I've been able to help him. So yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead.
No, that's it.
Yeah. So that's our proof that's our social proof. Like you're legit. You bring real solutions to the world, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I want to go back to, so you said NLP, and then you said language. It's about language. But then I don't want to say hedged a little bit, but you're like, well, maybe when most people talk about NLP, they don't talk about language, or they don't talk about it in language the same way you do, or maybe tell me what's going on there.
Yeah. Well, in NLP, everybody has an internal representation of the world, and we filter information as it comes in, and everybody deletes and distorts what comes into their mind. Because we can only take in so much information. We take in 123 bits versus we're receiving 40 billion bits per minute per second, I think, at a time. And so our unconscious mind and our conscious brain our conscious mind can't take it all in. So we got to sift through it. Right. Yeah. And that's why when, I go to the park, I may notice all the trees. And you go to the park and you notice the shiny slide. Okay. And, I say, what was the highlight of the park for you? And you're like, the shiny slide. And for me, it was the trees. And that goes into our unconscious mind of what we value is what we filter through. Right.
Yeah.
And so, I value, I may walk into a show home and be like, oh, I love how bright it is. And you may be like, oh, I don't like how cold it is. And so that's an internal representation right there of what you value, because you're perceiving it as different. I don't even notice that it's cold in there, or notice the coloring that makes it cold, or whatever that is, but you notice it because you value a different thing. And so it's really interesting how language can do that. And I think it's so important for people to take the time to break down what words mean to them, what symbols mean to them, right? Like the word happy, what does that mean to you versus what does it mean to me? Yeah. Connection, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to me? And when you start to understand that, then you have a better perspective of what's happening, right? Yeah. If you can, he who has the most knowledge or has the most terrain has the most power, right? So if I can see more and understand more, I have more choice, I have more power. Versus if I'm, only have one perspective and very narrow-minded, well, that could limit me in my power. So that's what I mean by language is I like NLP because it breaks down barriers using language. And so often if I'm working with a client and, they're telling me something, I ask them what it means to them. What does that word actually mean to you? What does that word mean to you?
Yeah.
And it's amazing what you will learn about somebody when they start to describe what something means to them. You're like, oh, I see how that's valuable.
Yeah.
Okay, I see that's important to you. Oh, that's interesting. So
yeah, that's
okay,
cool.
sorry, I tangent. Did I lose you? Because you look a little glazed over.
No, I'm taking it in. I'm liking it.
Did I put you in a trance? Whoops.
Yeah, in a good way.
I am a hypnotherapist. I do put people in trances often.
So Inner Mind Performance, Inner INNER Mind Performance.com. So anybody listening, those of you who are listening, go while we're talking, you can go to innermindperformance.com and follow along there. But Sheryne, so hypnotherapy, tell me about hypnotherapy. As you described NLP to me, describe hypnotherapy to me.
I think NLP is a type of hypnotherapy. It is, we're in some kind of hypnosis, 98%, I would say. I've had even some colleagues say 100% of the time we are in some form of hypnosis. And hypnosis is just, a focused state of trance. It's a focused state where you're directed at something. So within 3 seconds of picking up your phone, you're in trance.
Yeah.
You're glued in, you're there. When within 7 seconds of the television turning on, you're in a trance. Within 5 to 10 seconds getting in your car, you're in a trance. It's automatic. It's a very focused state. And a lot of the times, our unconscious mind, once you get to an automatic response, our unconscious mind takes over. How many times have you driven home and you're like, I don't consciously remember going home?
Yeah.
Did I turn past did I turn past the store or not?
Yeah.
I don't even know. I'm just home.
What was it? What was the weather like?
Yeah. And that's because your unconscious mind, and you've heard me say this before, it's like a GPS. And so you punch it in what you want to do, and your unconscious mind directs your mind and your body and the rest of you to go do it. So hypnosis is really, we're dialing in on a very focused state for a purposeful reason. And so hypnotherapy is, if we want to do psychological change work because you're stuck in an area in your life, or you've experienced trauma, you can't let that go. And often, we have open loops, so to say, just like you have open tabs on your computer, we have open loops. And if you know this, if you have a ton of tabs open on your computer, how well does it run?
It just gets bogged down. And
exactly.
Yeah, it's just a nightmare. Yeah.
Hypnotherapy and hypnosis is a way to go in and to gently close some of those open loops of, I was never good enough when I was a child, never good enough when I was a child. And that plays over and over and over again. And, I wonder why my ex left me. Why did my ex leave me? I don't know. Was it because I'm not good enough? And that's a lot of energy. Even to, how many times have you laid in bed at night? Did I pack my kids' lunch? Do I need to get up early and pack my kids' lunch? Where did I put my keys? Where's my passport? Oh shit, where's this? And those are open loops, right? And so hypnotherapy is a way to go in and close those loops.
Okay.
And so it's deep psychological change work is what we call it. And often it has to do with regression in going back into the past and closing those loops. Because a lot of the instances that are open still happen between the ages of 0 and 12. And so that is when we are most, malleable, most susceptible to change. We're the most susceptible to influence. It's the ages where we're in theta state. So we're a sponge. People say kids are like sponges, and they are. That is their unconscious mind is in a place of just being downloaded information. And so sometimes that information is not very good, right? And so we have to go back and reprogram the unconscious mind so that you can make a different behavior. So you can think a different thought, choose a different behavior, and get a different result.
Ooh, I like it. That's a great way to say it there.
I think I stole that from Vince. I mean, like, honestly, like I don't know how many times I've seen him write this on a whiteboard when he did some coaching for me. And I was like, yes, that's right. Right. Vince is really good at listening. We're just going to talk about Vince for a second.
Yeah.
Really good at listening and then like spitting out an answer, like being like, oh, you mean like this? And I'm like, yes, like he can fill in gaps. He's great.
Man, his knowledge is so deep. It's unbelievable. The more I get to have interactions with him, the more I'm like, God dang, like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So how did you stumble across, was it NLP first or hypnotherapy first or both at the same time? Like what?
Interesting.
What's that?
That's so interesting that you said that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go.
Is that your question? Okay.
Yeah.
How did I stumble across? Well, like I had mentioned before, so my father, here's the long story because we like deep, don't we? We like to go a little spiritual and woo-woo. The long story is that I actually wanted to be a doctor. And then my father ended up getting sick. He had cancer and he passed away. And after that, I realized I didn't want to be a doctor. And so after being in health and wellness for over 10 years at that time, I decided to go in a completely different direction. I went into business and marketing. And got.
Ask you a question. Yeah. How deep are you into the doctor path? Are you like you're in university, you're getting your bachelor's, you're getting ready?
Yeah. I was on the dot, like I was in an advanced like nursing program so that I could go into so basically pre-med so that I could go into medicine. Okay. And I was applying for the faculty of medicine, which is like a preliminary program for medicine. So I had a long ways to go. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was
on the path.
Yeah. I was on the path.
You were in school and you're like,
decision. I was like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And so dad go ahead. So dad, are you and dad,
my dad friendly? Was my best friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a heavy, Yeah. Bitch slap moment kind of, obviously.
Okay. Yeah. If we want to get real, for sure.
Yeah.
My dad had health issues in his entire, he was a type 1 diabetic. And so I learned at a very young age, like by the age of, I think 5, I learned when my dad had low blood sugar and I learned how to give him an injection. I learned my mom was really good at teaching me and my brother when something was wrong with dad, because and this is like 20 plus years ago when they didn't have the insulin packs that they have now, right? Like they didn't have monitoring on your body where your little thing would beep if you went low or whatever.
Yeah.
They didn't have that technology, right? It was like we had to smell his breath. We had to watch his behavior. We had to see, if his blood sugar was dropping. And so anyway, needless to say, he had a lot of health issues. So I always knew in the back of my mind, my mom always prepared this, that like dad isn't the strongest physically. And so we need to be appreciative of that. And so I knew, and as an adult, your parents aren't going to live forever. Yeah. But I had no idea it would happen that soon. And I didn't think it'd be cancer. Yeah. That blindsided me. I thought it would be like, I had done so much research in pre-med around diabetes and type 1 diabetes.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be organ failure. I thought it would be, kidney failure, heart disease. That's kind of the things that follow with diabetes. And then it was like, he got this rare cancer, like only seen in 17% of the population, blonde hair, blue-eyed Scandinavians, like in his eye. He got cancer in his eye. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Like a rare melanoma in his eye. And it's like, that kind of like shocked all of us. And the doctors didn't really know much about it. And they kind of were like, well, we're just going to treat it normally and it's not a big deal. And then later we found out this is a very aggressive cancer and that it can spread almost instantly. And melanoma spreads very fast. And it did. It spread to his liver and his lungs and his spine right away. And so within a very short amount of time, he got very sick. And I put everything on hold and I took care of him. He was my best friend and it was a no-brainer for me. It was like, Like, I remember my brother be like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, what do you mean, what am I going to do? I'm dropping out. Like, I'm stopping everything. I'm taking care of Dad. And he's like, oh, okay. like I just was like, this is my best friend. What, and I had no idea what it would look like. And that is the scariest thing for anyone who's lost a parent or loved one with cancer. You don't know what it looks like. You don't know how long you have. You don't know how fast it goes. You don't know what it looks like. Some people, rarely do they die peacefully in your sleep. That's what I've learned. It can be quite ugly. Yeah. It's really gross. So yeah. And I took care of him, and it was such a beautiful experience. Because I learned the value of life, and I've done a lot of grief talks. If anybody wants, I've spoken for a number of workshops and things around grief, because it was such a beautiful experience for me. And I've been in contact. There's death doulas now. Do you know death doulas is a thing?
Yeah.
I would have paid money back then to have a death doula, like, because you just don't know, to have someone come in and be like, hey, this is what you need to expect. This is the process. Like, it's just like having a baby, right? You have no idea. Like, this
end of life doula. Yeah. I interviewed, you can go back to the interviews. It's like interview 17 or something. Mel Cavendish is her name. It's a great interview. She's a death doula, but it was awesome. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. So
thankfully there was a grief counselor that was really involved and kind of knew like the death stuff. And so it was great. A beautiful experience, because it taught me the value of life. Like, you don't really understand life until you've experienced death. And he died in my dad died in my arms. And it was so beautiful and horrible at the same time, because this is like, he was my best friend. The only man I think I ever truly trusted in life. And he was just such a beautiful soul. And thankfully I have a lot of his legacy and characteristics in me, but it taught me so much in that moment. Like, you really only have one life. Like, and my dad said to me, because I'm like, Dad, who do I marry? And, I'm having this, and we talked every day about it. My dad was very open about the dying, and we talked about everything, and you name it, everything we talked about. And I just remember, sorry, I'm kind of rambling, but I remember him saying, like, Sheryne, it doesn't matter. If you want to be a truck driver, be a truck driver. If you want to be a garbage truck driver, be the best garbage truck driver ever. Like, nobody cares. Just own it. And just like, if that's your purpose and passion, then do that. Because I was like, Dad, I don't know. Do I keep being a doctor? And he's like, I don't care. And as long as you are fulfilling your purpose, he didn't say like happy. My dad was never like happy. Like, my dad was never one of those people who's like, do what makes you happy. My dad was very like, he was an accountant. So it was very logical. Do what's purposeful, right? And
do what's going to balance the books. God damn it.
Right. Very much. And so he had a practical side to him, but he's like, yeah, like, live out your purpose and be passionate. And I'm like, okay, because he didn't have regrets, but he had a list of things he hadn't accomplished yet. And that was like a big moment. And he said to me on his deathbed, he said to me, I don't have regrets, but I do wish I had gone to more of your games. I do wish we had taken more vacations. I wish I'd taken the darn sick days. At the end of the day, because guess what? His boss of 40 years wasn't there the day my dad died.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they sent him a card, but like, all the things he had given himself to, in the end, it was really only 20 family members around him. My dad was in charge of many organizations. He did nonprofit. He did all these things. He'd given 40 years to a company, and yet there's only 20 people around him at the end. And that was a wake up call to me. And that's when it was like the bitch slap began. I believe it began because the grief didn't happen when he died. It was moving on with life afterwards and going, oh my God, like, the person that was my best friend is no longer here, let alone my father. And so I did have PTSD. I did have depression. I had horrible anxiety, all my abandonment issues. Every emotion I'd ever felt in my life came flooding in. I learned to mop my floors a lot. Like, it was very like,
like, what else am I going to do? Mop
Yeah,
the
I actually
floors? Is
went
that
into
what you mean when you say mop the floors? It's like, this is what I know to do today.
yeah,
It's like, that's
yeah,
what I can do. Yeah, I love that.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I
And I
get
went
it.
back to landscaping. I had to get back to some roots. And so like in my younger years, I had landscaped and I called up this guy that I used to landscape and I'm like, I just need to plant some flowers every day for the next few months.
Yeah.
And I did until I figured out what I wanted to do. And super powerful. Anyways, long story short,
Yeah.
this is a long story long.
That's good.
Um,
It's good.
I ended up, because all those emotions, I ended up getting sick myself because I
Mhm.
still hadn't let go. I blamed myself on some level. I blamed myself that I didn't save him, that if only I had known more, if only I had been a doctor, if only all these things. And so I had to really let go, and all that emotional turmoil, plus the stress. I had moved many times. Like I put my body through hell, and within the first 3 to 5 years of my dad passing. And if you do the research, a lot of autoimmune diseases come within the first 3 to 5 years of trauma. Yeah, specifically
Wow.
the death of a loved one.
Wow.
Yeah, they say within 2 years of losing a loved one, you are so susceptible to cancer and autoimmune, your chances are like crazy
Wow.
because it's your body is in such a state of stress. Yeah, and emotional and physical. And
Wow.
so lo and behold, all these autoimmunes came up, and yeah, I started to heal myself naturally. I did juicing, I did raw vegan. I mean, you can go to my website. I list all the things that I did. I did over 30 different modalities. And in my process, in the journey, I did something called bioenergetics, natural bioenergetics, which is dealing with the emotional side and the psychology of emotions, as well as the physical side in traditional Chinese medicine.
Okay.
There's NLP woven into it.
Mm.
And so I noticed incredible change when I started seeing this practitioner who became my mentor. And I was like, whatever this is, I'm going to do it.
Who was it? Who was your mentor? Who is your mentor?
She was Linda Easthouse, and
Okay.
she has her own practice out of Mexico now.
Okay. Cool.
And so she's semi-retired, but not retired. She's one of those people I think will never retire.
Yes. Yes.
And so she was my teacher and my mentor, and taught me some incredible things, and worked with me every week for probably, I think, about a year.
Okay.
I went and saw her every week to deal with the physical, emotional trauma while doing all the physical modalities that I list on my website.
Yeah.
And that's how I was able to heal myself. But in that process, I came across NLP.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, if you know anything about marketing and business, NLP is very heavily woven into marketing and business.
Yes.
The
Like
power of language.
the ad people are like opening loops on us, right? They're like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Right. Just the way they word things, from come buy us to wouldn't your life be so much better if you bought this?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, would it? Let me show you how. Like there's just so NLP is just so, it's like sleight of mouth, which is what Tony Robbins actually does, is he uses a technique called sleight of mouth, which is just very much getting people to think and draw them in, and then you make that quick change. Anyways, very powerful technique. And so I actually became certified in bioenergetics first, and did that for 2 years as health coaching, and then really wanted to go deeper. I wanted to get more into trauma counseling and trauma coaching, and I really wanted to blow people's minds. So I got into NLP, hypnotherapy, timeline therapy, also incorporating matrix energetics, theta healing, EFT. And you just go to, like, once you're hooked, you just
You're
spiral
just like,
down into all the
yeah.
modalities. And originally I said, I want to pick the top 10 modalities that changed my life, and I want to learn them, master them, and then I want to help other people change their life with them. So that's what I did. So yeah, it's been fun.
That is beautiful. Thank you for that. So tell me if this is a naive, or I don't know if naive is the way to say it, but if I think all of the stuff you just said, it's like, it's all to change the pattern. Does that kind of change that pattern, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like as far as NLP is concerned, what are the three, someone listening's like, well, NLP sounds cool, or, but actually before we go there, Tony Robbins, the sleight of mouth technique, is he's using that technique. You don't need to tell me what it is necessarily yet, but he uses that technique so that draws the person in and opens them up. And so then he can
and then
affect change, or
and then he uses quantum linguistics. So it's very like, he uses a lot of commands, right? And so once you draw somebody in and you have influence, then you can command. And so that is what, like, Tony Robbins is not the master of NLP, just so everybody knows. Like,
right.
He didn't even finish his NLP courses. He just
right?
He just took two techniques out of NLP and just niched them down and mastered them, and he just uses them, and it works on people.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, sleight of mouth and then quantum linguistics it's very much once you have drawn them in, and it's sleight of mouth very much like can be very sarcastic too. Well, wouldn't you like to know? Well, that's because like it's very sarcastic, it's very jokey, and it's like, well, if you wanted that, you would go get it. And it's like, yeah, I guess I would. And then he takes it a step further, and he uses the linguistic quantum linguistics to kind of add in some embedded commands, which is another technique that is really powerful. And then like, so go do that, right? That's kind of what NLP, and people don't even realize that it's happening. Unless you were to sit down, unless someone like myself can pull it out, and I'm like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing there.
So who did he learn from, or who was his teacher? Who, as far as you're aware, huh?
Or do you know? He learned from Tad James.
Okay.
Or could have been Richard Bandler. Those are kind of the top two gurus out there. I'm sure there's more. Please don't be offended if you're listening to this and you're like, I know they're like, no, you got it wrong. Yeah, I may have.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, we're just having fun. We're just bantering. We're just talking about
Richard Bandler, Tad James.
Well, I'll tell you what I think is so interesting about, and this is no reflection of Tony Robbins. I think of but when I hear sleight of mouth, right? I'm like, that almost has a slight negative connotation to me, and not Tony, but the technique. I'm like, oh, why does that? It's an interesting question. Why does that chap me just a little bit? Like someone's using sleight of mouth on me. You know what I mean? Or what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Or not?
Yeah, no, because
it's an interesting. Go ahead.
Well, NLP can have a bad rap because it can be very manipulative. In marketing, there's a fine line, and I think it's important that you have ethics and morals around it. And when I did my NLP, we went over ethics and morals, and how to use it and when to use it, because it does put people in a trance.
Yeah,
it is formulated. There is so much. It's intertwined with hypnotherapy and hypnosis, and it does put people in a trance. And you need to be careful how you do things, because you can manipulate people. Anybody can. You can use language to manipulate anyone.
But people are trying to do it all the time. Hence marketers, right? They're trying to influence our actions, or get us to buy products, or switch companies, or go to Verizon versus AT&T, right? Like,
like wouldn't you want to protect your family? Like, don't you want to protect your family? Come to AT&T. We'll like what?
Oh, what? Wait,
yes? What? Okay. Yeah. It can be very, accusatory. It can be very manipulating. But it works too. So there's a right way and a wrong way, I would say, of using it. But it's out there. If you actually study the news, it's interwoven in everything. Every president has their own neurolinguistic programmer trainer to teach them how to talk.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's how powerful this is. The top CEOs in the world all know NLP. Most companies have their own NLP trainers. Vince knew about NLP. He's like, yeah, all of my guys have studied NLP, because it's such a powerful use of language. You can manipulate people to do what you want them to do.
Wow.
So I just use it to get
Yeah.
people to do what they want to do on themselves.
Right. Use it as a
Get
tool.
them out of the, to get them out of your head.
Yeah. So cool. So, and then if we were to just generalize, we'd say like the strategy of NLP is to help you used for good, using the force for good is to help you or somebody change their thought pattern to a more productive or less negative, or however you want to say that. Right. So, is that?
Yeah, I would say it's tricking your mind into doing what you want it to do.
Oh, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. So what are like, tell me some tactics within that. Like, cool, we've got this cool strategy. We're gonna trick our mind into doing what we want it to do. So like, give me some anyone listening, like throw them a bone. Let's what do we got?
Yeah, so there's some words that are really powerful that automatically trigger people to take action, and those words are need, have, want, and must. And then will is also in there. And so if I was talking to you and it's like, or if I need to do something, I will be like, I need to go do this. And that can trigger something in the unconscious mind to take action. And everybody's different, but those are kind of the top 5: the need, want, have, what did I say? Must and will. Okay. And so if you're like, I will go do this, I must go do this, I'm going to go do this. Like a lot of things people think I am is really powerful. It's not as powerful as I must. Mm-hmm. And I will, and I have to, and I want to, and I need to. And so that's a trick that you can do, is you can literally say that, like, I must go do the dishes. I need to go do the dishes. I want to go do the dishes. I will go do the dishes. And you can say that, and that will supercharge your unconscious mind because it's an embedded command that we've learned from such a young age to go do something. Right.
I love that. That's a good one. Yeah. Thank you for that. So that's a great tip. So again, people can follow along at innermindperformance.com. Tools for a good life summit.com is where they can listen to you. I interview you. I do 2 interviews. We do the general session and then we do the VIP session. I can't remember which one it was in, but you were like, and you used this, what was that example you gave? It was so great. I hope it comes to me quick. It was like, I
hope it comes to you because I can't remember it.
No, well, you were like, put the question on your, you're like, form the question, put it on a note or a sticky on your mirror or something. And then the subconscious mind will work to answer the question.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so you're like, somebody hates doing dishes. And you're like, it's something about all of a sudden now they're doing the dishes. Sorry, audience. Go ahead.
No, it's very much like, what would my life look like if I enjoyed doing the dishes?
Yeah.
Or how easy would it be for me to do the dishes every day? And not answering that question is just leaving it up there and watching your unconscious mind figure out the answer. Because a lot of people think that it's a lot of work. The unconscious mind is so much, it's 30,000 times more powerful than the conscious mind. And so if you can get it embedded in your unconscious mind, it will take over and you'll take action. And so the whole, like, I get a lot of my clients to get this. If this was no longer a problem in my life, how much time and energy would I have? And then the unconscious mind goes, well, we want time and energy. Why don't we solve this problem? And it starts to look for an answer. What would my life look like if this was no longer a problem in my life? If this was no longer a problem in my life, how much time and energy would I have? What will I do with all the time and energy that I have now that this is no longer a problem in my life?
And so I love that. And I love that thought. And the subconscious mind starts working to answer that question.
And then you walk away and you go, eat a piece of chocolate, go for a walk. And the next thing you know is you're figuring out your life's problems. And you're like, wow, how did that happen?
So would you have somebody write that down or walk me through so it's like, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of my clients, I get them to write it on a sticky and put it on their mirror in the morning. I would say first thing in the morning, especially when you get out of the shower, because your neural networks are really lit at that time, so to say. Yeah. And so get out of the shower, look in the mirror and be like, just say it out loud 3 times. You don't need to answer it. Like this is not a cognitive thinking thing. This is just, okay, what would my life look, feel, and sound like? Blah, 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 or whatever the question is that they need to ask. And they just say it out loud 3 times and then they go away. And then they say it again before bed. And so that is a technique that you can use. And I get them to do it for as long as it takes. And I would say anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 weeks seems to be about the time. And then by the end of 30 plus days, it's no longer a problem. It's not even, they're like, yeah, I have so much time and energy to figure everything out. Like, I got this.
You don't need to say any names, but any real world, what's the top real world example of that where you've helped one of your clients do that? Can you give like a real life?
I would say every single one of my clients, because once I think as humans, and the time and energy one is big because we've been taught that everything takes time and energy, right? Yeah. And time and energy is important. It's a valuable thing, very valuable. And so I would say every single one of my clients, no matter what it is, if it's, I want to lose weight, if change jobs, make more money, no longer be sick, whatever it is, I put the time in. How much time and energy will I have when I work out every day? How much time and energy will I have when I lose 10 pounds? What will my life look like? How much time and energy will I have when this is no longer a problem in my life? Insert the problem. And I would say every single one of my clients after the 3 weeks are like, oh my gosh, I have so much time and energy, because it also changes their focus of where it's going, right? Because focusing on the problem is part of the problem. Right? Focusing on the problem is part of the problem, right? And so they're now thinking about, how can I create more time and energy? Because this is no longer a problem in my life, because my unconscious mind is taking care of it. I'm taking care of it. And so what else can I do? Because the unconscious mind likes direction. It likes to do shit. And so many times, once I sit down with a client, they got chaos in their life. They got destruction. The world's burning down because they're bored. What happens to a toddler when you leave them alone for too long?
Oh my God.
What happens to a toddler when you leave them alone for too long?
They just are going to wreak havoc.
Markers on the wall, Lego flipped over, brothers, sisters locked in the cupboard. Like, we are wired, when we're bored, we will create anything, including create chaos. So give yourself something to do. Stop creating the problem.
I love it. Oh my God.
It's so funny when people come to me and they're like, I'm not good at manifesting. I've been divorced 3 times and, I've lost my job and I have health issues. I'm like, you are very good at manifesting. You are very good at manifesting. You're bored and you're bored. We need to get that energy, because it's the same thing with a child that's like, they're very good at creating destruction.
Go dig a ditch.
Right?
Young man.
do. And so it's like, give your unconscious mind something to do. Stop destroying relationships. Stop destroying habits in your life. Stop eating at night. Like, people know what we eat because we're bored. We'll do something. Right? It's a default mechanism. When we're bored, we will resort to creating anything, including destruction. It's so true, right?
It's so true. Just like throwing little toddlers throwing temper tantrums.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Bored. Your unconscious mind's bored, so it's like,
bored.
I'm gonna blow shit up today. Like,
you want to manifest something? How about another destroyed relation?
Exactly.
Another destroyed relationship.
And when a client comes to me with that much dysfunction, I'm scared. I'm like, wow, you are powerful.
I love that idea, though. Wow. Yeah. If you could just shift the, shift the intention, or I don't know what the right word is there.
Yeah, the focus.
The focus. Thank you. The focus. Oh my gosh. That's so good. That's a new way to look at the destructive patterns in my life. Oh my God, I am so powerful at manifesting. I just need a new focus. I love it. I'm going to press you.
I only know this because I've done it myself.
Yeah, right. Oh my God.
Wow, I'm really good at manifesting. Manifest chaos like crazy. What if I can manifest
Crazy.
great things? Right? My best friend, he says to me, whenever I'm like trying to inner minds him, he goes, it takes one to know one. And I was like, ooh,
Ooh,
so true.
so true. All right, I'm going to press you a little bit on. I want a specific example of where you Jedi tricked the person with your little thing there with that tool of.
Oh God, killing me.
Sorry to do that too. I should have let you know beforehand. It'd have been a lot easier.
Go on, a specific example of what?
Of where we're doing where you're like, hey, ask this question, and when you're out of the shower and when you go to bed, like what is one of your clients, we don't need the name, but
Okay.
like this was the real world problem, and we got the real world solution utilizing this technique, perhaps some others as well, but you understand what I'm saying.
Okay, 2 clients are coming to mind. One, she had been I would say she was in a very tumultuous relationship for many years and then ended it, but never got over it. Like her heart was broken. And she was, I would say, chronically depressed for 4 years, been in counseling for 4 years, just like living lifeless for 4 years. The 9 to 5 or whatever. And she couldn't get over it. And I remember I got her to do this specifically. I mean, I had worked with her too. But I think it was, something around, I can't remember what it was. This is a while ago, like a few years ago. I think I got her to ask the question, what would I do? Yeah. How happy, that's what it was. How happy would I be knowing that I've let go of insert person's name?
Yeah.
How happy would I be knowing that I've let go of this person and that I now have the power to choose what I get to do with my life? Something along those lines. A very empowering. I remember it had to do with how happy would I be.
Okay.
And within 2 weeks, she comes to one of her appointments and she goes, "We have a problem." And I said, "What?" She goes, "Well, for the first time in 4 years, I don't think I've ever been so productive." And I said, "What do you mean?" She's like, "I planted my garden, haven't touched my garden in 4 years. Planted my garden." She said, "I've changed jobs." And she didn't like her job. And she's like, "I'm back. I got on a dating website." And she's like, "I actually think I'm happy. Like, I actually think I'm experiencing joy again." She actually didn't know we had to go through a whole process of actually getting her to remember what joy feels like, because sometimes people legitimately forget. And so I was like, okay, let's start identifying that there's happiness in your life. And yeah, it was really cool. And she went on, and like, honestly, after that, she was just like, she didn't even know what to do with herself. I mean, she was like, for 4 years, I feel like I've just wasted my life. And now I'm like planting a garden and moving on. And so that, and it literally, I got her to do it. She was probably doing it. I think I had her put it on her steering wheel of her car. So every time she got in her car, she had to say it out loud. She did a lot of driving. So she was doing it multiple times a day, asking that question. Yeah. And yeah, transformational. Yeah.
Beautiful. And what was the other one that came to mind? If you
again, it was around love again. And I think it was like, what would I do? I think it was how fulfilled. No. If I knew how much I loved myself, how much could someone love me? Ooh. If I knew how much I loved myself, how much could someone love me? And again, a similar situation, been through a divorce, hadn't dated in a year or years, long time, was looking to get back into that, but was struggling to feel worthy to date again. And like, oh my God, like within a month, she had men bowing to her, and she's like, what is going on? And like, she also started to really respect herself, and she wasn't dating just these, lack of a better term, douchebags. She wasn't dating douchebags anymore, and she started dating these high standard, respectable men. And I was like, whoa, this is powerful. And she's like, she still just says the mantra today. And yeah, she started saying it a couple years ago, but very powerful. very powerful technique.
So good. And again, everybody listening, go to toolsforagoodlifesummit.com. And you spoke on, I believe it was day one, Mind Day. And then there's also the VIP bonus interview where you dropped not only that bomb, but like you're just, I mean, it was so powerful that the tools and the insights and the like actionable content, right? That's what I love is you were just like, here's a platter of actionable content
which is really funny, Misha, because I don't usually do actionable content.
Yeah. We sussed it out of you.
Right, you did. I'm so impressed. Usually I'm just like, I don't know, you just do it. You just do it.
Yeah.
I don't know, come lay on my table. Come, book an appointment with me. We'll fix it.
Yeah. Well, you'll help if someone goes, oh my gosh, Sheryne's amazing. They call you up. You're going to obviously got to dig a little bit to like, what's the issue? What are we going to work on? What technique do I want to apply where? Right. Like what's best fit given the progress they want to make, I guess. But, and of course, inner mind performance, they can go there too. So I wrote down a few questions. I always like to take a moment and thank you for indulging me with all that. And I'm gonna try to think of something to put within your framework. Hold on, to put within your framework. So the next time we talk, I can be like, hey, I used that little trick and here's what it was. Right. So I'm going to think about that offline. I'll come up with something and try it for the next time we talk. But I like to take like, hey, source, universe, infinite intelligence, God, call it whatever the heck you want. Like, what are some questions? So here, are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you channeling this? Is that what you're saying?
I said I did earlier before I got on the call. I wrote
amazing.
Down a few things. And so one of them was, I thought, what an opportunity because I'm a guy, you're a girl or a man, woman, however you want to say it. I wrote down, what's the biggest difference between men and women and how they deal, or we could say how they deal with blank. That's what I got to. My question to you, what's the biggest difference between men and women and how we deal? You fill in the blank.
Oh, wow. I think in how they deal with life and perception.
Okay. Tell me then.
This would require a full another podcast, as I love talking about gender roles and I love talking about programming and the programming that's come with gender and gender roles. And I hope that doesn't offend anybody when I say gender, but I mean like the masculine and the feminine. Yeah, I think, the earliest programming is women are taught, and I think that's changing. But for definitely like our generation and up, I would say it's very much been women are less than and weaker. And that's been a negative thing. And men are, stronger, and women are sensitive, right? Women are sensitive and men are, emotionally unavailable. Right. And men, I think like I literally have the picture of like a man in a suit with a briefcase walking down the street, logically going to work and motionless, right? Like emotionless, I should say. And a woman at home, la la la, in the kitchen, crying over a sad movie. And like that is what I picture when you were talking that. Because that is the program that I received at a young age. And what I have learned is that makes it very difficult for men and women to relate. Because now we've created a barrier and we've created labels. And if you've ever heard me speak on Clubhouse or anywhere, I hate labels. Hate labels. Hate labels. I hate titles. I hate it when we do that. And I get why we do it, so that we can compartmentalize and relate to what's going on. Because we need to, remember I talked about distort, delete, and filter what's happening. So it's a way that we filter things. but it does put things in a box. And what it does is it says that women are overly sensitive and men are, emotionally unavailable. Right. And I would say that makes it very difficult for men and women to be in connection and communication if those are the labels and the programs that we've set before us. I could go so deep into this.
we have a few minutes, so don't be scared. If there's more you want to say, or you want me to ask a question, if there's something on the tip of your tongue,
I think we can go a little bit woo woo. I think the feminine. Here's my honest opinion. I think the feminine energy, whether you identify as a female or not, or you just identify with that type of energy, I think the feminine is more powerful than the masculine.
Okay.
I truly believe that. I believe the feminine energy, we can birth a human being. We create life and we can squat that. You ever seen Eliza Schlesinger?
Yes.
Right. And she's like,
comedian, right?
And she's like, we just wiggle out this human being and we're like, and then we're like, oh, can you open this can for me? And it's like, she's like, really? Like,
oh my God, that's amazing.
Right. It's just like, what? I think the feminine energy that we possess, whether you're female or identify as female, whatever, doesn't matter, is stronger and more powerful than any masculine energy out there. I also think the feminine energy will heal the masculine. I feel that women have inverted and destroyed a lot of the sanctity of feminine energy, and that it is actually quite sovereign and strong and powerful. It's not weak. It's not necessarily nurturing as it is more sovereign. And I think that if women can tap into that, they would be able to heal men. Not that that's our responsibility, but I think it would heal the masculine. And I think that would allow the masculine to step into more of a feminine role or feminine energy, which would soften men, which would allow more creativity, which again, I think it's about equality. For me, it's like the yin and the yang. It's like we need the masculine, we need the feminine, and every human being needs to have a balance of the both. That is my perspective. And I have seen relationships in my personal life change when I step into more masculine energy and when I step into feminine energy. And when I learn to balance the time, the tact, tone, and timing of that, I can heal every man in my life. I have witnessed that before my eyes, and it is such a powerful role because I used to be one of those women that emasculated men. I chopped your balls off and I chewed them up and spit it out. And I thought I was because I was being a badass bitch. And then I realized that you crying in the corner does nothing. That these men just want to be loved as much as women. They want to be heard as much as women. It's just not acceptable. And that's part of the program. It's not socially acceptable for a man to come to work and be like, I'm having an off day. I'm sad. Whereas women, it's totally acceptable to be like, I'm PMSing. I can be a bitch because I'm PMSing, All right. Like a girlfriend messaged me and she's like, I think I'm getting my period. I'm going to take today off. And I'm like, oh yeah. Okay, cool. But like, if a man, if one of my male friends messages me, is like, my left ball hurts, I think I'm going to skip work. Right. We'd be like, what?
What? Like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, goddammit.
Yeah, like, why are you being a pussy? Like, I'm just like, I used to be that girl that was like, why? Like, if I saw a man cry, I'd be like, why are you crying? Like, why? And now, when I'm in the presence of a man that cries, I'm like, I will hold space like I'm holding a fucking child. Excuse my language. But it's like, that is the most probably privileged state for a woman to ever be, when a man shows real raw emotion. And I've learned to really appreciate, harness, captivate, hold that, because it's just not allowed. And if men had more safe places to do that, the world would be a different place. And if women had more safe place to step into the masculine while being feminine, because we kind of went to the extreme. Before it was like women were like, like these weak, feeble, like stay at home, love me, like just weak and feeble, whatever. And then we swung and we're like, I want to be a badass bitch. And like, we wanted to like step into this masculine role. And it's like, I want the career and I want to pop out babies and I want to look good and wear skinny jeans while doing it. And then we realized that we all started getting sick and dying and we started burning out and we started castrating men because it's just not meant to be. Like we went so far to the extreme. Right. And I like how many women were breaking down, like were on my table and they're like, I just don't understand what's happening. My hair's falling out. I'm running a corporate 9-to-5 job. I'm, managing millions of dollars. Like they've stepped in this giant corporate masculine role and they're like the queen at home too. And like, taking charge of their family. And they're like, I don't know why I'm burnt out. And I'm like, well, because you have a uterus and your purpose is to nurture. So like, if you abandon that, you're going to burn out in the other way. So I think it's about kind of finding that balance of like, yeah, I can be a badass bitch and still cry, and take a break. And men can be, corporate gurus or, kings of their household and have a bad day.
Yeah. And not have it be a vicious bad day, right? Like a lot of times, perhaps a bad day for man that justifies our unloading our emotions in an unhealthy way, right? Instead of crying or in a softer feminine sort of way, we're like aggro or aggressive or vocal or intimidating or, maybe not encouraged how to like deal with that bad day in a healthiher manner, shall we say? And
I think it's because they've been repressed too for so long.
Yeah.
I mean, so many women are like, men are like Jekyll and Hyde. It's like, can you blame them? Like they have to play this role of like macho man or, hero all day. And then it's like, they are just shoving their emotions down. And then you're asking them why they bought the wrong kind of cottage cheese, right? And they're just like, fuck, like, I can't handle that anymore. And they just snap. And you're like, oh my God, what's your problem? And it's like, really? They get it so hard, women. I'm not saying women have it any easier. This is not about who has it easy or hard.
No.
It's something needs to change, like, yeah. And I think honestly, the feminine is leading the change. And because we are the ones that birth the child. Yeah. And therefore we create the life. And so you create the standards. You can create a lot more than you think.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. When you say sovereign, what do you mean? You said sovereign.
I love this word. I'm addicted to this word right now. Sovereign. Sovereign is like, gracefully taking your authority. It's a deep knowing of, empowerment. Sovereign, like you know who you are, you know where you're going. It's like I picture this very like noble queen just taking her throne and like chaos is going on and she just leans forward and just says, something really nurturing, just knowing that you are handling the situation, you know who you are, you're not out of fear, and there's a lot of grace and power that comes forth, like sovereign. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you. Yeah. I love that. It's good. When you talk about women can heal men, what pops to my mind is not literally like needing to take action to heal them. No. It's like allowing for healing. You hold space. I guess we could, because I wrote down hold space. I think that as a guy, like to me, I quit my job so I could hold space for my boys. And what does that mean? That means I could be there for them. And oftentimes I didn't even need to do anything, but just be in the living room so that when they open the door and looked out, they're like, yeah, dad's there. This is a safe space, right?
Totally.
Like hold space without having to do anything else other than listen or be there or hug or right. Does that, so I don't, go ahead, go.
Yeah, no, I think like females are so used to them being in chaos and so used to them being rescued and being part of being the problem because we can, we're dramatic. We can be more dramatic, more emotional. And if women learn to rescue themselves and find that masculine energy that can rescue themselves and just chill the fuck out, like that gives men the space to talk. Because how many times has a man walked in the door or you've gone out to meet them and you're like, oh my God, let me tell you about my day. And you just like, every woman does this and it's just like, blah, and they just vomit. And then they're like, what? Why aren't you talking to me? Why aren't you sharing me? Why aren't you opening up? And the guy's like, because you're a fucking disaster, dude. Like, and you know, they're taught to like rescue the woman. So they're sitting there in silence, you know, because that's how they don't know what to do. And it's like, if women just were like, learn to deal with their own shit, you know, like you can save yourself. And then once you deal with your own shit, that allows space for a man to be like, hey, you're okay. It's because you're okay. Can I come cry on your lap? And you're like, yeah, here. And I'm not going to castrate you for it. Like, I'm not going to emasculate you. Well, you do it. I'm going to still look at you tomorrow like you're a fucking king. Like, I get super passionate about it.
No, thank you.
I've had to learn this. I'm still learning this.
Yeah. I love it. Great lessons. Great. Yes. I'm just quick time check. I think I'm going to save. I think that the universe just had a great question for me to ask you. So thank you so much for that. I was there anything that you were hoping to speak on when you jumped on the podcast here that you didn't get a chance to talk about? That
No, I mean, I'm such an open and easygoing flow, whatever. I didn't know what to expect and I was pleasantly surprised. And as you know, there's multiple topics that I can share about. And I just kind of went with your leading. So I think it's great.
Okay.
I feel great.
Well, fantastic. Again, everybody, for more Inner Mind Performance, when I'm looking over here, I'm looking at your website, which is super cool. And there's some great programs and offerings and things to help people. So check that out. And then, of course, why wouldn't I talk about the Tools for a Good Life Summit yet again? Go there.com and you can check out your Sheryne's awesome interviews. So I think that's it. Thank you so much for jumping on. I'm going to hit stop and then we'll say goodbye offline.
Thank you so much. It's been awesome.
Thank you for spending time with me today. As someone who is committed to growth and service to this world, I so appreciate your willingness to come with me, go within, and serve our world through change. If you found value in this podcast and you know someone who can use this message, share this episode with them. Share it so our mission can be achieved one episode at a time. And of course, subscribe so you can hear more. And lastly, for more resources on what has helped me on my journey and can help you on yours, go to belove.media/resources. That's BELOVE.media/resources. Thank you again for listening.